You hover over the send button, heart racing, fingers already typing a sharp reply. Another voice whispers, "Don't," and a quieter negotiator starts drafting something wiser. That tug of war is the drama Freud wanted us to notice. He offered a stage with 3 main roles so the conflict could be seen. The ID is raw drive, the part that wants now and wants fully. The superego is internalized law, ideals and prohibitions that reward and punish. The ego is the reality tester and diplomat, balancing desire, conscience, and the world. These are functional roles, not brain parts or little people inside you. Freud built this structure after an earlier map of conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. The second map explained why conflict can be both felt and hidden. Today we use the model as a metaphor for inner negotiations. It helps us ask which force is speaking and what each wants. Let's step into 3 scenes where the model earns its keep. Scene 1 is impulse versus delay, the classic now versus later. Imagine payday, a glowing ad, and a limited time offer that sings your name. The id says spend because pleasure is here and will not wait. The ego consults reality and opens the budget you promised to respect. It reaches for planning and sublimation, channeling the urge into a saving goal. You put a small amount toward a trip your future self will love. You still treat yourself, but within a plan that does not burn tomorrow. The wish is not killed. It is redirected into something durable. This is the ego doing its adult work without scolding. Anna Freud helped catalog the ego's tools, the defenses that steer pressure. Sublimation matters here because it turns heat into craft or growth. We keep the energy and change the outlet, which keeps dignity intact. Scene 2 is guilt versus growth, the superego at its loudest. You miss a deadline and the inner critic storms in with sirens. It declares moral failure and demands punishment long after the lesson is learned. The ego tries a different tack and names values instead of crimes. It asks what matters most and what repair would speak to that value. You apologize clearly, improve your process, and set a reminder that actually works. You feel remorse without self-cruelty, which helps you keep faith with yourself. The superego softens into guidance when values replace humiliation as the teacher. Many people need that shift because some superegos were built under fear. Cultural voices can load the superego with shame that stifles initiative. A balanced conscience points forward while still honoring accountability. Modern research on cognitive control gives this story another bridge. When we pause and plan, control networks help us hold goals in mind. They do not prove the id or ego in tissue, but they rhyme with the metaphor. The model remains heuristic, a teaching tool rather than anatomy. Treat it as a lens that clarifies choices rather than a map of neurons. Scene 3 is conflict and compromise, a longer negotiation with real stakes. A parent loves their creative work and also carries family responsibility. A promotion offers money and status, but crushes the time needed for art. The ID longs for freedom to create without constraint or schedule. The superego insists on duty, security, and the approval of elders who sacrificed. The ego interviews reality and sees rent, childcare, and limited hours in a week. It brokers a path that is livable even if not ideal. The person takes the promotion but designs constraints that protect studio time. They set a 2-night creative block and a quarterly retreat, non-negotiable appointments. They also shape the new role toward mentoring, which feeds meaning as well as income. Compromise is not surrender when it reflects a true hierarchy of values. The ego's job is not to please everyone. It is to make a life. Historically, this structural model reframed neurosis as conflict, not mysterious possession. Symptoms were seen as compromise formations between pressure and prohibition. Knowing that changed how clinicians listened and how patients found options. Perfection is not the goal. Workable peace is a worthy upgrade. Let's add a contemporary vignette to make the model breathe. A leader runs meetings with surgical precision but leaves people chilled. Their superego equates worth with flawlessness, and criticism arrives like hail. After feedback, they fear lowering standards and losing respect they fought hard to earn. The ego experiments with a different mix of standards and empathy. They keep goals crisp, but add curiosity before judgment and repair after mistakes. Team performance rises, not because pressure vanished, but because trust finally grew. This is growth, not a personality transplant, and the council inside sounds different. Counterpoints matter, so let's speak them plainly and fairly. The model is a heuristic, not a literal map of the brain. Superegos can be culturally loaded, punitive, or shaped by injustice. The ego can become rigid, protecting order at the cost of aliveness. We use the model wisely when we keep its poetry and drop its dogma. Now turn the metaphor into daily navigation with simple practices. Try a decision diary for any choice that matters this week. On one line, write desire, value, reality, and fill each honestly. Desire names what the ID wants without embarrassment or spin. Value names what your conscience or ideals want beyond approval. Reality names constraints, resources, and consequences that cannot be wished away. Reading across the row shows the negotiation in black and white. Add a 5-breath pause before acting when the urge is hot. Breath 1 names the urge. Breath 2 imagines tomorrow morning. Breath 3 drafts a plan. Breath 4 picks one step. Breath 5 commits. You are converting raw impulse into a plan rather than a lecture. Close the week with a kind audit that separates shame from responsibility. Ask what you regret, what you can repair, and what you can release. Kind does not mean soft on standards, it means clear without cruelty. Common mistakes can turn the model into a toy hammer. Do not use ID, ego, or superego as insults in arguments. Do not treat the id as evil. It is your fuel and your appetite for life. Do not worship the superego as unquestioned moral authority. Let values guide, but interrogate voices that only punish and never teach. Hold the ego lightly, because flexibility is its finest quality. Stiffness masquerades as strength, yet it breaks under novelty and stress. The goal is a small inner council that gets wiser with practice. Each member has a seat, each voice is heard, and the chair keeps time. Before we finish, notice the message you edited earlier today. Notice the choice you made between speed, pride, and relationship. Some days the ID deserves a feast, and celebration becomes part of balance. Some days the superego should stand down while values speak in warm tones. Every day the ego earns its keep by hosting an honest meeting. Which council member is too loud this week, and which is too quiet? How could you chair the meeting with more skill and less drama? A wise life is not a silenced council, but a well-chaired one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment.